Good morning, I'm back at last. It's, what is it, October the 28th, I guess? And I've got the wrong glove in my hand for some reason. It's Friday, so going around the lake. You can see there's still some snow left from the snow on last Sunday. So we'll see how much is left as we walk around the lake. It will melt. It's supposed to be plus 11 or something, maybe even today, over the weekend. Right now it's just above freezing, but it's going to warm up quite a bit today. So a lot of this snow will melt, but there's some big drifts in the ditches along the highway just as I was driving up to Saskatoon. That's not going anywhere. Well, it will shrink, but it's not going to go away, I don't think, before it's permanent. Not permanent, but permanent for the winter. We're not quite in Ice Age territory here. Not yet, anyway. Okay. Oops. Come on. Straighten up here. Straighten up and fly right. So yeah, I didn't walk on Tuesday. Well, I did walk on Tuesday, but it was just little short segments and didn't make sense to live stream it. So I actually did walk downtown, but it was in little short pieces. And then Wednesday I drove to Saskatoon and didn't feel like walking when I got there, and also forgot to take the gimbal with me, so there was no opportunity. And then yesterday I drove back from Saskatoon and had so much to do because of losing all that time to driving that I didn't go out and walk, but here I am. And I'll try to do it at least once over the weekend. And of course Monday is Halloween, so I'll do an evening walk that day. Hello, honey. Had a good book launch in Saskatoon. That's what took me up there, was the launch of Thickwood, which is a novel by Gail M. Smith that I've just published through Shadowpaw Press. And really good turnout in Saskatoon at Amigo's Cantina. Sold a lot of books, and she did a great reading. The book is a historical novel set in post-war Saskatchewan about a young woman who wants to raise horses in the area where she grew up in the Thickwood Hills. And she's also just back from playing in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, a league of their own. So it's got baseball and horses. And yeah, I hope it does well. At least on the launches it sold lots of books. Now if it would just keep doing that on Amazon and places like that, that'd be great. It's not that cold, it's just above freezing right now. And as I said, it's going to go up quite warm the next 2 or 3 days. 11 degrees Celsius, I think, is the high called for. However, next week it cools off again and there's more snow in the forecast, so this could be the beginning where there's some snow on the ground. I think it is. There will be some of this snow in shaded places will survive the warmth, and that means there will be some snow in the ground until spring. And at times, a lot of snow on the ground. Most of the time, a lot of snow on the ground as we get closer to winter. But you can never be sure. We could get an unseasonable warm spell. Quite lovely this morning, though. Won't be long before I'll be setting out around the lake before the sun comes up. Sunrise this morning was at 7:43 a.m. So it's only been up for about half an hour. And the days continue to get shorter as we head toward the winter solstice on December 21st. It's only still not November yet, so there's a lot of getting shorter before they start to get longer again. And I'll do some walks that are pretty much entirely in the dark. Well, usually the sky is starting to lighten, so it's not quite dark, but certainly pre-dawn. Oh yes, ice to watch out for. And a shaded area there. You can see where the sun has gotten to it, you know, it melts and has melted and will melt. But the sun is low already, since we're past the equinox, so there are places that it just doesn't reach, and that's where the snow starts to survive even a warm day, because it refrigerates itself. One thing that happened with the big snowstorm was we lost a big branch off a spruce tree in our front yard. Fortunately, it landed in the grass, not on the house. It's a tree that the top came off of in a windstorm a few years ago. And landed in our neighbor's yard. And I think what has broken off now was kind of the tree's best effort to repair that. So it was growing this, all the growth seems to have been in this branch that now has broken off, which concerns us about the long-term health of the tree. Here's the lake, so I'm going to have somebody come and haul that away, and I'll maybe have them take a look at the tree at the same time to see how it's doing. So, sun's been up for about half an hour. Lots of birds on the water. They're not geese. It's hard to tell in silhouette. I don't think they're ducks. I think they're gulls. I think they're gulls. Get a better look at them in different directions, I think. Let's go over here. Maybe I can get a better look at them. They're not acting like gulls. They're not gulls. Are they ducks? I guess they're ducks. Oh, and there go geese. Starting to think about, some of them anyway, are starting to think about flying south. Yeah, it's a mixture. Yeah, those are gulls. The ones I happen to see here were ducks, but those are gulls. I don't usually see them sitting on the water like that, quite that enthusiastically. They look like blackbirds until you got the light in the right direction because of this kind of silhouette. A little more water flowing over here than there was because we had so much moisture in the snowstorm. I can hear it flowing over the dam there. Of course, that's the Saskatchewan Legislative Building ahead of us. We will walk through the garden today, I think. It's kind of depressing because it's all just dirt. The end of the flowers. Lots of geese there. Here they go by. It is so bright, I cannot see a thing looking in that direction. I didn't wear any sunglasses either. Well, there's the geese sitting on the edge of sitting by the dock of the bay. So we got geese, we had ducks, we've got gulls over there. It's a bird convention. Some honk. Oh yeah, there's usually geese over here, and there they are. I always imagine them saying, "Think it's time to go?" "No, not yet." "No, I think we should go." "Well, if we go now, we can get all the best species." Birds everywhere. See, now when you turn around, you can tell they're gulls because they're white. The birds just go on and on. Interesting. He's taking off from the water there. No. Heading off to Farmers Fields probably to, oh, they're all taking off. Look at that. Heading out to the Farmers Fields for some morning feeding, I think. There's gulls on the rocks over here. And a couple of other things. Oh, having to wait for the goose to cross the road here. See piles of dirty snow from the snow clearing. Yes. Excuse me, fellows, or probably fellow and lady, who knows. They look very fat and ready to migrate, if you ask me. But here's the garden. Not much of a garden. We'll see a lot more birds probably over around Pine Island. There's always lots over there. I'm wearing a hat. I probably won't need to keep that on. It'll get too warm. I think it's warmed up since I checked the temperature. Of course, the statue of Queen Elizabeth II on her horse Burmese, which was her favorite horse, and which was born in Saskatchewan. That's why it's featured in the statue here, which she unveiled herself. And my daughter gave flowers to her, a story I have often told along about there as I walk. I don't usually take this little piece of path, but today I will. Actually, a nice framed picture there if I decide to use the ledge for my thumbnail today. The ledge, as we call it. Always looks good this time of the morning because of the light on this side of the building. I think I'll take off my hat now. I'm already getting warm enough from the walking. Meanwhile, I got a million things to work on. But I'm trying really hard to prioritize my own writing, despite everything else I have to do. So that's the first thing I'm going to do today, is work on my own writing. You heard it here first. Before I get wrapped up in publishing and designing a poster for Wascana Voices, the choir that I'm singing with, and an editing job I have, all that stuff. Oh, it's very icy here. Very icy. Again, this is a shaded area. The sun probably won't hit there again until summer, so I think we'll go through the Or will he? Yeah, I think we'll go. Oh, let's go this way because there's so many birds. We'll go down by the. It's not fountaining, but there's a fountain down here I sometimes walk by. There are a lot of birds, that's for sure. Of course, they've all just flown away. Oh, I thought there must be a dog from the way she was bending over and picking something up. First dog of the day. A little one. This is the Trafalgar Fountain, which did, in fact, once stand in Trafalgar Square. But it is not a fountain this time of year. It's been turned off for some time now. Still below freezing in the shade, I think, looking at things and the sparkle of frost. Okay, well, there were a bunch of birds here that just took off. That would have been nice to be here when they did that. There's still a lot of birds here. They're just floating peacefully. Seeing more people this morning. It's not as cold as last Friday when I came. Morning. A little dog. I'll get you and your little dog too. Actually getting warm enough in the leather jacket. I almost think I could have just worn a sweater this morning. Oh, there is warmth in the sun for sure. Yep, there we go. May have missed some of that because I couldn't really see them in the sun, but I caught a little bit of that flight going over. Flock. Trying to remember to keep the gimbal more upright. It seems to help the horizon stay level. A bell would have been nice there. All I had to do was turn suddenly and we would have had a collision because I had no idea he was there. The thing is that, and I know this as having cycled these paths, as a cyclist you feel like pedestrians are stationary obstacles you can just zip around. But of course they aren't. They can move suddenly at any time in any direction. If you don't warn them you're coming, they could move into your path. Which is why some sort of warning is the appropriate thing to do as a cyclist, and something that cyclists like that guy ignore. And most of the time they get away with it, but you only have to not get away with it once for it to be nasty. Kind of see through the trees to the buildings there. You can't do that earlier in the year when there's still leaves. The lake, of course, is always right there to my left. Walking in this direction, counterclockwise. Talking to herself, but not really. It always looks that way when somebody goes by talking on a phone. suppose it looks that way to me too, or to others when they see me. Usually though, they just kind of wonder, what the heck is that thing on a stick? Why does he have a phone on a stick? Won't bother with Pine Island today. I'm just going to walk around, get back to work. Two dogs, and fairly loud speaker I can hear too. A radio hung around her neck or something. Is this the old guys? Run into them all the time. Somebody took a bike through there, you can tell. Morning. Morning. There's a group of old guys, I call them, that walks around the lake pretty much every morning, so I almost always run into them if I'm at my usual time frame. I see them again on the other side as our paths recross. See you on the other side. Again, suddenly blinded by the light. Revved up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Finally looked up those lyrics. As I've mentioned before, for years I tried to figure out what they were saying. Finally looked them up. That's what it is. Revved up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Deuce being, of course, a Ford, 1932 Ford's favorite car of hot rodders. Original hot rod, pretty much. Be nice when we move so the sun's not in my eyes. Still lots of snow around. Excuse me. Not much to say, just walking. No, you don't need to point up. Yep. Town's nicely lit up this time of morning. We might get a better look at it along here. There it is anyway, through the trees, but there should be more of an opening a little further up here. Oh, it's so wobbly. There's kind of an opening here so you can sit in the benches and look down over the lake. There's downtown. Our house is in that direction. That's where I started from. It's the Surveyor's Monument, as I mentioned. I wrote the Association of Professional... No, sorry, theirs is the Saskatchewan Land Surveyors Association. I wrote their history book a few years ago now. Thought I'd see more birds here, but actually it's abandoned by the birds, it looks like, this morning. It's Pine Island there. Sometimes I go onto it, I won't this morning. There's usually a lot of birds around the bridge, but I think the geese have been staging themselves for flying out into the fields, as we saw back down in front of the ledge. And so they're gone. It looks like the ducks are gone too. Oh, there's a few up there. Here's some gulls, maybe as well. There's some ducks down there, but not a lot of geese. I think they've headed out for feeding. The pigeon. So what I thought were gulls are just lumps of snow. In fact, all of what I thought were gulls are just lumps of snow. She's looking in the garbage everywhere she goes. A few more birds over there. There's the Conexus Art Centre, our main theatrical performing venue. And that's the Broad Street Bridge we'll be heading to. I guess it's maybe Wascana Drive Bridge, but anyway, at that point, can't remember if it's technically Broad Street or Wascana Drive up there. Everybody calls it the Broad Street Bridge, so maybe it's still Broad Street until this corner. Not sure. Yeah, I could have just worn my sweater, as warm as I'm getting. All right, well, the sun won't be in my eyes again for the rest of the walk. So now turn and look the other way, across the ruffled surface of the lake. Wascana has ruffles. Or ripples if you prefer, but it's ruffled. as well. They're not actually called ruffles. They're ripples, but they make the water ruffled, I guess is the way that would be. Back when it was warmer, occasionally there'd be a flautist under here practicing flute, taking advantage of the acoustic under the bridge, but haven't seen them for a while. Quite a good breeze blowing across the lake, so at this point I've got to have the coat. That's why it's ruffled. Exposed here, whereas before it felt quite warm. Now my ears are getting cold too because of the wind. Too awkward to put my hat back on though, so I'll just suffer. Can't get frostbite at above freezing temperatures. I don't know how cold it has to be before you can suffer frostbite, if you can do it as soon as it's below freezing, or if it has to be a few more degrees because of your warmth of your body. Because it would have to be able to overcome the warmth that you're producing for whatever body part it is. Win the battle between the blood inside and the cold air outside. So I would think it'd have to be a few degrees below freezing before there's any risk of actual frostbite. But we certainly get there. And will. Soon enough. Boat ramp appears to be closed. I think it was still open last Friday when I walked by. In fact, I think that's when I saw somebody launching a kayak back there at the beach. This is Marina. Oop. For a minute I thought that was a rabbit. It's just a piece of paper. This is the Bar Willow, it's called. Muddy, so I will take the sidewalk around this batch. Sometimes I cut through there. Not today. Bar Willow Eatery. Lake Tahoe is a takeout window. And they had more covered space out here actually than they do now, but this is probably just what they can heat. Probably it'll be there all winter, at least on days when it's not stupidly cold. Where the rowing club hangs out. Already passed these ladies once before. Morning. Carrying on. Not sure exactly where the halfway point of the walk is. Probably all right along here somewhere. Might even be further back. Based on the time elapsed, I must have passed the halfway mark because I'm at 36 minutes and it usually takes just under an hour to do this walk. So the halfway point should be back around the bridge maybe. Another little bridge to go over. In the summer, there's a fountain in that pond, aeration fountain. Keep oxygen in the lake water. You can see downtown is directly ahead of us there. Kind of a scenic overlook up there, which you get at from that away. And here's the view. Spruce Island over there, and then the Legislative Building, and the lake. So our house is that way, and downtown. Up there's the scenic overlook. One thing I still have to do when I get back every day, I've been posting a quote from my new book, The Tangled Stars. Books to read, numeral2.com/thetangledstars. Best way to find a link to where you would like to buy it. And it's out in ebook and audiobook. Audiobook narrated by Wayne Mitchell. Anyway, one of the characters in it is a talking cat. Genetically modified, AI uplifted talking cat. And each chapter begins with his personal log entry, and I've been posting those as quotes with a picture of our cat, Shadowpaw, which is kind of what the cat in the book looks like, oddly enough, accompanying it. And I don't know if it sold any books, but certainly it's picked up some attention. My publisher keeps retweeting it, which is nice. I thought they might do it once or twice, but they've done it several times. That's the Queen building over there, HMCS Queen. It's actually a landlocked ship. It's where the naval recruits and naval recruiting office and the naval cadets hang out there. I'm looking back to Albert Street Bridge over there. Comes joggers. So there's also one, as I often mention, in Saskatoon called HMCS Unicorn, which is a very old British ship name. Queen makes perfect sense, of course, for Regina, which in Latin should be Regina, which means, duh, Queen. Not, yes, Queen. So we're at the Queen City. Named after Queen Victoria, not Queen Elizabeth. Well, I guess HMCS Queen now stands for His Majesty's Canadian Ship Queen, right there. Instead of Her Majesty's. So waiting to be at the first event where we sing God Save the King. I haven't been at one yet where they played it or sang it. Oh, Canada doesn't change, but that has. He is, of course, the King of Canada. We do have a king, constitutional monarchy. Representative in Canada is the Governor General, and in each province there's the Lieutenant Governor. So we have a lieutenant governor, the country has a governor general, and they're the ones that sign bills into law, giving royal assent to the actions of the legislature. If they choose not to give that assent, it's a huge constitutional crisis. And hasn't happened. Well, there was I can't remember the incident, even though I wrote the history book. There's an incident in Saskatchewan history where there was a moment of related to that, but I don't remember the details now. So the king is the head of state, whereas the prime minister is the head of government. That's the way it works in a constitutional monarchy. Whereas in the US, the head of state and the head of government are the same person, the president, which is unusual actually in the world. Like in France, you have a president who's the head of state, and then Macron is the, whatever they call him there. I don't think they call him prime minister, but he's the head of government, if I remember right. Not really up on French government, but I think that's how they work. I remember studying US government in university, which as a foreign student I was required to do. Actually, I had some courses like that I had to take. And one of the functions of the president is to serve as a scapegoat, which I always thought was interesting. He's somebody that people can focus their dislike of government actions on. And they do, whichever president it is. I think partisan politics is a bit poisonous. I understand why it arose and the function of parties and how they serve an important purpose in a way, but if you believe your party can never do wrong, then you're delusional. This is where the Shards of Excalibur series kicks off, this body of water, where it's my YA fantasy series, 5 books. The Lady of the Lake shows up there. You can see more of Willow Island because the leaves are down through the trees there. And at the end of the books, Arthur's sword Excalibur ends up in the lake just off the west end of Willow Island. So if you want to mount an expedition to find it, that's where you'd look. You won't be able to find it, of course. It's magically shielded from ordinary people. So that just proves it's there. If you go looking for it and you can't find it, that proves that it's there. That's the classic conspiracy theorist. Well, the fact there's no evidence is proof of a government cover-up or whatever. If there was evidence, that would also be proof. So it's unfalsifiable and therefore unscientific. Although even the stuff in science right now is unscientific. It's all been politicized. So I see Elon Musk and his plans for Twitter is talking about basically combining some aspects of YouTube with Twitter, whatever that would look like. But who knows, in the future, I might be live streaming this on Twitter as well as YouTube and Facebook. You were able to kind of do that for a while, and then I think it went away. It was called Periscope, and I don't know exactly what happened. I don't think it's there anymore. I think that's what it was called. Now, if I didn't want to live stream on Facebook, I might be able to live stream on more channels. So there's other software that I'm using, but this is the only one that seems to be suited for this kind of live streaming. Most of them are more for sitting at your computer, broadcasting yourself. Morning. Over there's where they're working on the new pool. Which I presume opens in spring of 2023, once all this snow has come and gone. New pool there. Used to be a playground that I used to take Alice to all the time, and it's gone now too. It wasn't here, but it was close to where the pool is. Here we go around the lake again, lake again, lake again. Here we go around the lake again, so early in the morning. Not that early. Getting close now, probably only about 10 minutes left before I'm home. Getting a lot of repeats of the people that we see here. Bridge is nicely lit up. Last time I looked, it was just flying Canadian flags. I think that's what's still on it. Probably change for the next month. That seems to be how they do it. There's the old guys again.
Yeah, but we've got
the week before Christmas.
Another thing coming up is Agribition, which I walked through last year and plan to do this year as well. With, you know, there's a trade show, cows, it's a big deal. So I think we're going to go again this year, mainly so I can take a walk through it with the camera. People seem to enjoy that last year. You can go back and look at last year's, of course. It won't look that different this year. Fewer masks. Alice in Wonderland, that's what the class is doing. My daughter's former youth theater company, run by Robert Urson, who's a very good friend of mine. Was best man at my wedding, in fact. And he wrote that version of Alice in Wonderland. It's been done many times. In fact, if you know Tatiana Maslany, who starred in Orphan Black and is currently She-Hulk in the Marvel Universe, she's from here. I knew her. I've known her since she was a little kid. I directed her in a play, in fact. Back when she was into it with class, she was in Alice in Wonderland. So they redo it periodically because Rob wrote it, so there's no royalties. So it helps with the budget, and they're great shows. And with the Young People's Theater Company, you can repeat things every 5 or 6 years, and you've kind of worked your way through the company and have fresh faces to experience it. I was on the board for a while, but very briefly they just needed somebody to fill in, and I didn't carry on since Alice was gone, and I really didn't need the extra commitment. I did their programs for years and years and years. Somebody else has finally taken that over. I don't mind doing programs. It was kind of work, but at the same time, you go to the show. There's all these people sitting around looking at something that you created, even though they don't know you did it necessarily, unless they read the one line where it says, programmed by Edward Willett. Still some gulls sitting over there. I've done a lot of programs. I used to do all the ones for Regina Lyric Musical Theatre. They finally took that away from me. Somebody new took it over, I should say. But I did that for, it must have been 20 years. I did all the programs, maybe longer. I did posters for almost, well, maybe about that long, and then they had a professional designer volunteering, donating her time, so they gave it to her, which is okay. So they have a very unified look, the posters, and I guess that's okay, but it's not nearly as creative or as much fun. I really kind of enjoyed that part of the job. Again, it went away. However, I'm doing the poster for Wascana Voices now, which is the self-directed choir I'm singing in our concert's coming up on December 11th, is it? You'd think I know since I'm doing the poster, but I haven't actually put the date on the poster yet. Legacies of Light, the program will be called, and it's at it's Christ Lutheran Church, which very familiar with because that's where Prairie Chamber Choir, which I used to sing with until it closed down, very high-end choir, as is Wascana Voices. We used to perform there because of our connection to Dr. Melissa Morgan, who's now interim, I believe, still head of music at the University of Regina, but she was the choir director at Luther College, which is right next door to that church, and which is where my daughter went to high school, and their choirs also would perform in Christ Lutheran Church, so it's a building I know well. Anyway, it's one of the things I want to do today is get a draft of that poster and send it out for review for our next rehearsal on Sunday. It's not a Christmas concert, although there is some Christmas music in it. There's several songs that have to do with stars, so and Northern Lights and stuff like that. So Legacies of Light was suggested. We have to do everything by consensus, and we consensused on that title. So if you're in Regina, you should come to that concert. There's no ticket charge. It's a free will donation at the door, whatever you want to donate. And I think it's December 11th. I will confirm in a future walk once I'm absolutely sure, but I think that's right. I've got another concert on December 1st. It's easy to get them confused in my head, date-wise. December 1st is the Regina Lyric Musical Theater Sapphire anniversary concert, 45th anniversary, and I'll be singing a solo and in a chorus number or two. Singing, my heart is so full of you, so full of you, from The Most Happy Fella, a part I actually played back in 97? Was it 97? Or was 97 the Mikado? I think it was 97. The year we got married, I think. 25 years ago that I did that part. It's a great part. I'd do it again. Might be a little old for it now. Did a questionnaire about our favorite shows, and That was one of them for me, that and playing Tevye and Fiddler on the Roof, of course, because who wouldn't love playing Tevye? I sure did. Even if I did have to grow a beard, which I did not keep. But that was 22 years ago I did Tevye. I could still do him. Maybe old, but he can be old or younger. He has grown daughters. I have a grown daughter, so there you go. Just barely grown. She's 21, so. Okay. That's it. Certainly I'll be back, I hope, at least one day over the weekend, maybe both days. We'll see. And bye.